The India that you see in 2023 is a very different India than what it was in 2014. Our effort is really to use the G20 to make the world ready for India and India ready for the world. One would be really to highlight the importance of getting the G20 right, because the value of the G20 in today's international relations is really huge. The gridlock today in the UN Security Council and the UN system actually makes the G20 even more important than it would be otherwise. UN Security Council finds itself in a way polarized and unable to come to a consensus on many, many issues. I think this is an occasion at this point of time. We are about a month away, a little more than a month away from the summit. If I were to pick perhaps 4 points which I think are important at this moment, one would be really to highlight the importance of getting the G20 right, because the value of the G20 in today's international relations is really huge. I mean, it is all said and done the premier international gathering, and what we need to do is to ensure that it focuses on the right issues, and most important, after all the debates and discussions, that it comes up with an actionable consensus. So I would say that, to me right now, is the primary thought when I look at the G20. I make the point that the gridlock today in the UN Security Council and the UN system actually makes the G20 even more important than it would be otherwise. So that is not to say, I mean, peace and security issues have its place, but if you look in terms of overall global welfare, global good, I think the responsibilities on the G20 are perhaps a little bit heavier, precisely because today the UN Security Council finds itself in a way polarized and unable to come to a consensus on many, many issues. And my fourth point is, of course, a reminder of what is the mandate of the G20. And the mandate of the G20 is development and growth. And I make that point not because you are all unaware of it, you are, of course, extremely sensitive to it, but because if there is something today which is really under stress, it is development and growth. That large parts of the world today are following G20, they have a stake in G20, they would like to influence G20, the countries outside the room, outside the table, and that is because they find their development and their growth today under jeopardy. And they would like G20 to do something about this. We actually went through this exercise of what was called Voice of Global South, where 125 countries participated in deliberations in the month of January. So many of the sentiments that I expressed to you, the assessments that I share, the concerns that I convey, these are not just our own. These are the distilled essence of what 125 countries today, at least 125, feel about the state of the world. Now, we are now chronologically significantly down the way where the G20 is concerned. A lot of the ministerials have taken place. Some of the important ministerials still, some of them have happened, some have more rounds to go. And in a way, you could say the jury is still out. We've had some achievements. We've still had a lot of work in progress. There is some which we hope will progress. I would really conclude by stressing that, it's important for the G20 to realize that what unites us today is more than what separates us. I'm not in denial of the fact that there are deep differences within the G20. But I do believe that there's a larger agenda a larger agenda to humanity, a larger agenda for the planet. And it's therefore absolutely vital that we find a common landing point when the summit takes place in September. The India that you see in 2023 is a very different India than what it was in 2014. And I hope that that's a takeaway that you will carry back in your baggage. So our effort is really to use the G20 to make the world ready for India and India ready for the world. But once again, I'm so happy to see you all, even if it is at a distance. Delighted to interact with you today, and I'm looking forward to the session.